first prop we will be constructing is called the Angel of Death. It's a static, non-moving prop fabricated from wood, chicken wire, burlap, and monster mud. It stands holding a single lit candle, making it the perfect prop for your darkest corner. The prop size can be scaled down to fit any location. However, we tend to scale most of our props to fit the size of the mask we use. You can utilize this construction method in your imagination to create a vast number of realistic static props, all at a fraction of the cost compared to commercial ones. Okay, let's briefly go over a few of the materials used to create the Angel of Death prop. Don't concern yourself too much with memorizing all this, because at the end of this segment we're going to show you a complete list of materials. First off, let's start with the wood. We have two 2x3s that are 60 inches long. And from those two boards, you're going to cut two 90-degree triangles out of the 2x3 material. You're also going to need a piece of 3/4 inch plywood that's 6 inches by 18 inches and an 18 by 18 inch square piece of 3/4 inch plywood. For the monster mud, you're going to need a 5-gallon bucket of joint compound and a 1-gallon can of latex paint. You're going to need a roll of burlap used for landscaping. This is 3 foot by 48 foot. You're going to need a roll of chicken wire or poultry netting, 1-inch diameter holes like we talked about earlier. This is a 4-foot roll by 25 foot. You are going to need a section of 2-inch PVC pipe. This is about 16 inches long. Okay, for the electrical part of your project, you're going to need an extension cord. This is about 15 feet long and it already has the female end cut off. You're going to need a porcelain base socket that has a pigtail on it, which is basically just the white and black wire already attached to it. Kind of simplifies the project. And you're going to need the ever so famous flicker bulb. You're going to need a couple drywall screws. These are 3-inch drywall screws, and these ones here are 1 5/8". And you're going to need a short section of just multi-purpose baling wire. And last but not least, you're going to need a latex mask of your choice and some plastic grocery bags to stuff inside. Now take a look at this. Here's a few of the basic tools you're going to need to complete this project. A pair of wire strippers, a pair of needle nose pliers, a pair of wire cutters, a utility knife, a rotary cutter available at a fabric store, it's good for cutting the burlap, a marking pencil, tape measure, a couple of yellow wire nuts, combination square, glue sticks and a glue gun, a power drill with a Phillips bit attachment in it, and a staple gun and some staples. Okay, first begin with your 18 by 18 inch board, and you are going to measure halfway down. Take your combination square and you're going to draw a nice dark line across there. Okay, now from that you're going to measure in 1.5 inches on both sides. Use your combination square again, and you're just going to draw a little reference line. This is going to be the outside of your 2x3s that are going to be mounted to this. This is your base. Okay, now take your 6 by 18 inch piece and measure in 1.5 inches on that side, 1.5 inches on that side. Do the same thing and draw a dark line as a reference line. That's going to be the outside of your 2x3 for the top. This is going to be your shoulder board. Okay, now take your combination square and adjust it so that you can use the 45-degree angle end of it What you're going to do here is you are going to mark the corners of your shoulder board back a little bit. It doesn't have to be anything perfect. You're basically just going to use these lines so you can put this on a saw and cut off the corners. Otherwise they're going to be sticking out the ends of your, or the top part of your prop, and it's not going to look like a natural shoulder line. So there you have that, and that will take us to the saw. Next, start with your 18 by 18 inch square piece of plywood and one of your 2x3s. You're going to take it and you're going to put it at the center of the long line and on the edge of your outside marking line here, and you're going to run a 3-inch drywall screw in through the back of the plywood. Take another screw and put one right underneath it. Okay, pick it up. Once you got both of the legs on there, and you're going to take your shoulder piece, and these two lines that we drew on there earlier, those go to the outside edge of the 2x3s, and try to center them in the center of this board. And we're going to attach this again with 3-inch drywall screws. Next, you want to install your 90-degree corner pieces, and that will help stabilize the two upright 2x3s. Okay, now you got most of the woodwork done for your prop. Next thing to do is to start with your chicken wire. You want to undo the wire that binds it from the new package, and you're going to leave them roll on the floor, and you're going to lift it up and you're going to center it. There's normally 2 wires that run down through a 48-inch wide piece of chicken wire. You want to kind of center that so that it's, you have a piece on both sides that's even. Take your staple gun. You're going to leave about 4 inches extend over the top, and you're going to just start to staple this along the edge of the 3/4 inch plywood shoulder board. Next thing you do is go down to the floor, and you want to uncoil some more chicken wire, and you're going to want to pull it out towards you. And you're going to check to make sure that this isn't real sloppy. You want to have it somewhat tight, but not too tight. And where it comes down and meets the 3/4 inch plywood to the floor, you're going to measure out about 1 inch to 2 inches, and then you're going to make your cut straight across. Okay, push your roll aside, grab your staple gun again. And you're going to also, like I said at the top, you're going to make sure that the chicken wire is pretty even lengths on both sides of your plywood base. And start by stapling in the center. And work your way to each edge. Next you want to turn the prop around and do the same thing to the back. And we already pre-cut a piece of chicken wire for the back to kind of speed things along here. You just basically do the same thing. You're going to leave the sides unstapled so that you can overlap them after you get the back on. Make sure your chicken wire is pretty even on both sides. Down to the bottom. After you get the front and back stapled on, you're going to work on the sides. You're going to basically do the same thing at the bottom. You're going to bring it around and you're going to staple it to the edge of the plywood. Okay, now you're going to tuck the back edge underneath. Going to bring the front part back over that. You want to bring it around so that it's fairly snug. You don't want to have it too tight, but you don't want to have it so bulky that it's going to make the prop too fat looking. Okay, I'll start at the bottom and run a few more staples in the plywood to hold the front piece of chicken wire in place. And you're going to work on the top. You're going to bring the front piece around to the back of the shoulder board. And it looks pretty good. And you're going to put a staple in to hold that. A few more along the edge. Pretty good. Now you want to do the other side. Finding that some of the staples aren't going in far enough at the bottom edge and up here at the top, you can take a hammer and tap them in, and that'll help them secure and keep them from pulling out later on after you get the prop finished. Okay, the next thing to do, up here at the top on both sides of the shoulder, you're going to want to cut this chicken wire that's over extending the plywood board. Just want to cut straight up on both sides through both layers of chicken wire. Open that up a little bit. This is going to be where the arms are going to come out of. Do that on the other side. Okay, now down the sides, you'll notice it's really wrinkly from where you overlap the chicken wire. What you can do is you can reach your fingers through and pull them tight and cut pieces of wire on the inner piece of chicken wire and then wrap it around the outer layer of chicken wire. We already formed two 48-inch long arm tubes as we described earlier in this video. Now basically all you're doing is making sure the top shoulder part is wide open, and you're going to put it approximately in the center of the shoulder board. Grab your staple gun, and in the top here you're going to put a couple staples. Try to get one in a couple inches. Same for the other side. And this side's going to be a little bit tricky because you got the other arm already in place. What you can do here is you can compress the top and go down through the hole and still get some staples in here and hold it in place. Just pull this back up. Now the arms are mounted. Now what you want to do, put your hand here and one here, and you're going to push in and bend the arm down. And that's going to create your shoulder. You're going to flatten this area a little bit on top. Do the same over here. Bring the arms around the front, bend them at the elbows. For this particular prop, hands aren't going to be visible. This Angel of Death prop is going to be holding a PVC candle. So we are basically just crunching the hands in like we showed you in the sculpting section of this video. Just crimp them in for now, they don't have to be perfect. Just make sure they're proportioned to one another. After you get the arms bent in a little bit, you can work back up here at the top, and you're going to wrap long sections of chicken wire that you cut apart. You're going to wrap them over top of the arms. It's going to hold the arms in place, and it's also going to give you a nice shoulder form to work off of for the neck. Okay, next we formed a neck tube out of a piece of 48-inch long chicken wire, and it's about 12 inches in width. We just coiled it up like I showed you earlier, and now we're going to place it on the center of the shoulders, and this particular prop is going to be kind of looking downward, not straight out at the people coming at them, so we're going to angle it forward a little bit and just wire it onto the shoulders. And this might be a little bit too high, so what you can do is crimp the top down in. It'll also get rid of all those sharp corners. Good height now. To keep the face from being all disformed and disfigured, you pack it with plastic bags. Most of your masks today that you buy have eye holes cut out up here. When you fill them in with bags, it'll give you something to paint out later so you don't see that. Plus there's going to be a hood over top of this prop, and more likely most people are never even going to see it anyhow. Next you want to cut a 24-inch piece by the width of 48 inches. This is going to create your hood over top of the mask. Begin by placing this over top of your prop. You're going to have about 2 inches in the back, touching the actual shoulders. What we're going to do here, fold this edge under, create a rigid brim on the face of this. You're also going to take and you're going to, since this isn't going to be all the way down and like this, we're going to tuck this in a little bit and work it back. Down here on the chest, we're going to cut a piece of the hood wire so that we can wrap it around chicken wire on the chest. That'll begin to hold that in place. Still have these ragged edges. You're going to basically just fold this in, curve this around, and connect it to the back. That PVC pipe that we had to get is going to form a candle. Now this whole thing is going to be wired to the body, the arm's going to be wired to the body, and then we're going to take that baling wire and we're going to lash it around the hands and the candle, and that's going to hold that in place. Okay, your next step, you want to cut 2 48-inch pieces of chicken wire. They're 48-inch by 48-inch square. You're going to fold them into a big triangle. You're going to have 2 of these. These are going to become your wings. And what you want to do is you want to take the back of your prop and approximately 3 or 4 inches up off the shoulder board, right in the center of the body, you're going to attach these all the way down. And you're going to do that on both sides. There's a finished edge on the chicken wire. On the one edge, you're going to cut that all the way off so you have 2 raw edges to work with. That way it'll help secure it to the back of the body and you won't have a loose edge. You just pretty much center that on there. You might want to use your needle nose pliers for this also to help you pull it through the back and wrap them around. Okay, next what you want to do is you want to shape your wings. And basically all it is by scrunching it down. So we're going to spin this around and we're going to show you how to do that to this side. Now you have a raw edge up here. You want to bend all these tips down so that you're not putting the points of these through your hand. Really just scrunching this stuff down with your 2 hands. You're going to form a bulked up edge. There's 2 points in the wing. It's coming down from the back and then it's going to come back up again. So you want to really scrunch that stuff down in the lower parts, and then it's coming back up to the tip again. Just work out of the way. Now this outer edge also, you want to do the same thing. You're just scrunching it down on itself all the way down. Okay, your next step is to bend it vertically. And to do that, you're just pulling it back towards you, holding it in the center where it's going to be bending. want to keep working this until you get the look that you think looks best from the front. Okay, next we're going to be working on the PVC candle, which will be placed in the hands of your angel death prop. So you want to grab your PVC pipe and your porcelain socket. First, what you want to do is you want to take your porcelain base socket. You want to grab your extension cord. Now, like I said earlier in the material list, this one already had the female end of the extension cord cut off. So you're basically cutting the wire in half. You're going to separate the two wires. Take your pair of wire strippers. Strip off about 3/4 of an inch of the rubber insulation on both sides. Okay, and you're going to twist those stranded copper wires together. Now you'll notice on the extension cord there's a ribbed side to the insulation, and then there's a smooth side to the insulation. The ribbed side of the insulation is going to be connected to your white wire of your socket with a yellow wire nut, and you want to twist that until it starts to twist the two wires together, then you know it's all nice and tight. And you'll do the smooth side of your extension cord to your black wire. Next, you want to run your extension cord down through your pipe, pull it all the way through the wire nuts, and then you want to take a couple sheets of paper towel, or you can use newspaper or anything. This is going to be wrapped around your socket, and this is going to act as a stop, because we're going to put hot melt glue in around the top of this to simulate candle wax. Just poke it down. Make sure you don't have any paper towel sticking out of the top of your socket, and you also want to put this down so that it's just below the edge, not too far down. That's pretty good. Okay. Next, what you want to do, take your hot melt glue gun, and you're going to make sure your socket is centered in the top, and you're going to fill this up with hot melt glue. Okay, this set up a little bit. What you might want to do is just put your bulb in there and straighten it up. Make sure the bulb is nice and straight with the candle. And you want to take your glue gun again, and you're just going to fill in a little bit more around the top. You're going to make sure that it doesn't go down into the socket. And just work your way from the outside, or the inside out. Let the glue naturally run down the outside edge. Make sure you hold the candle nice and straight. And this is going to create a real nice candle effect. Okay, we've allowed time for the glue to dry on the top of the candle. Now you notice we didn't do anything with the blue writing on the back of this pipe. That's going to become the back of the candle. We just want to bring the electrical cord up over that writing, and we're going to place this in the hands, writing to the back and the cord to the back. Now take that piece of baling wire that was in the material list, and you're going to wrap that through the hands and around the candle. And just use your needle nose pliers after you get that wrapped around there and tighten that up. That'll secure the candle into place. Okay, now cutting a little hole in the chicken wire body to put your extension cord through. Make sure there's no sharp edges that are going to be rubbing against the cord. Slide your cord through. Okay, now down here at the back of the prop, do the same thing. You're going to cut a small hole. Make sure there's no sharp edges again for the cord to rub on. You're going to fish the wire out through the hole. Take and put a few staples in to hold the wire in place and keep it from being pulled out. Make sure you don't staple into the wire. Okay, now that we have all the chicken wire done and we have the candle made, the next thing to do is to cut the fabric for the monster mud. It's best to cut it all at once, that way you're not stopping and washing your hands and cutting more fabric and getting all your tools dirty whenever you're dipping it into the monster mud. And I'm going to show you the best thing to use is this rotary cutter. Works really nice, and you're not taking 45 minutes cutting burlap with a pair of scissors. So let's go back and cut some burlap. Okay, this is just your basic outdoor landscaping burlap. It's a lot cheaper to buy rolls of this than it is to go to a fabric store and spend more money for basically a higher grade burlap. And you're going to be covering this with joint compound and paint, so it doesn't make any sense to go with the more expensive stuff. Okay, this is the rotary knife that I was talking about. It's just a round cutting wheel, and it really simplifies and speeds up the cutting of the burlap. So just want to get your pieces. It's best to put down some type of a cutting board that's not going to get your good work surfaces marred up. They don't have to be perfect cuts. Actually, the more ragged they are, the better off your prop's going to look. Alright, we've got all our pieces of burlap pre-cut. We have thin pieces or strips cut to wrap the arms of your prop, and we have long panels pre-cut, and those are going to go down the front and the back of the prop. You're also going to want panels cut for the hood, and you're going to want panels cut for the wings. Let me show you the best way to apply monster mud to the burlap. Basically, fastest thing to do is just crinkle this up and just start plunging it in to the mix. Work it through. You want to make sure you have a pretty good coverage. Now you can have some spots of the burlap that are not fully covered here, but it's better for the first layers to be thoroughly covered. That way they'll stick better to the final outer covering. You're just going to open these up, and the best thing to do to get excess mud off is just going to take your hand, wrap it around, and you're just going to pull it straight through, and you can see that gets off quite a bit of mud that would have been wasted otherwise. Just open it up, get it all opened up again before you put it on. That way you have better coverage and you're not using an excessive amount of burlap. Okay, I like to start up at the top of the arms and just kind of start to wrap it around, pull around the arms down to the point where we attached it to the body. Well, this is your first layer, so you don't have to have it perfect, but it's good to try to cover at least 95% of the prop. That way your final outer covering will look better. Strip is going to go over the shoulder, down in behind the arm. Sometimes it'll help if you take a pair of wire cutters, just snip a piece of the chicken wire and you can slip your burlap over top of it and push that wire back in so it's not sticking out. That'll help hold the burlap in place. step is going to be what everybody's actually going to see. Now this looks kind of raggedy with all the different pieces just plastered on. So you're going to be putting on larger sheets. And those are going to cover those up, and it's also going to give your prop a more clothed look. Start with one of the arms. You're basically just going to use a long, thin sheet. You also want to try to add some wrinkles into it, which will dry later, and they'll really give your prop a nice look. Okay, for display purposes, we turn this prop around. It's best though, whenever you're doing this at home, that you don't move the prop once you start working on it. Just leave it wherever you're going to work on it to dry. The more you move this around when it's wet, the more chances you have of damaging the underneath structure of the chicken wire and collapsing on itself. So leave it sit there and let it dry thoroughly. But we turned this around just so we could show you the back of it and show you some detail work on the wings. You're not going to be putting quite as much monster mud on your burlap because you don't want all that extra weight weighing them down. Plus, keep in mind, we're also going to, at this point, we're going to wire the side of the wing to the side of the shoulder for a little bit more stability, but we want to get at least one piece of this on first before we do that. You can tell this doesn't have quite as much on it. Okay, after you have the wings somewhat covered, you want to take a piece of that baling wire and we are going to wire it to the back of the shoulder. Now what we want to do is just twist that tight so that it holds. Cut that off. Put those wires down so you're not getting jabbed on them later on. utility knife. And to make this look a little ratty on the edge, run the utility knife over the edge. Make sure you don't cut your fingers. Give it somewhat of a creepier look. Okay, after you've made all your little minor adjustments all around the prop, you want to make sure the candles at the angle you want, make sure the hands are kind of defined. You don't have to worry about getting this off. You can wipe that off later with a wet sponge whenever it's dry. That way you're not disturbing it too much. And same with the mask. If you got any compound on the mask, that also will wipe off. And you'll want to let this sit for at least 24 to 48 hours depending on the humidity of the area that you're in. And you'll know whenever it's dry the material will become stiff and the color of the overall prop will lighten up a little bit.